Folks, it's a Thursday evening here in lovely, I would say sunny, but it's not. It's sleety over here in Scotland at the moment. For this week's episode of Jungle Drums, I'm joined by my good friends Gimboyd and Sergeant J.
Hello.
Hello.
How are we doing this evening, gentlemen?
Sleepy.
Sleepy. Yeah, it's the weather. You know, when it's cooler, when it's cold outside, and you have a nice big, comfort meal, comfort food for dinner. You just want to curl up and.
Well, I was sick last week, and that's translated into messed up sleeping patterns now.
That's fair enough.
I keep waking up at like 6 o'clock in the morning and falling asleep at about 10.
Oh, God. Oh, I hate that. I hate that when that happens. What about you, Jay? Are you working hard or hardly working?
A bit both. I had an absolutely terrible time on the way home, though. I really, as I said this morning, I felt like a sardine on the way back from work today.
By that he means packed in tightly.
Yeah, exactly that.
In the ocean.
So the train, bear in mind this is obviously peak time. There was only 4 coaches instead of 8 coaches on the train due to apparently some problems with 4 coaches or something.
Okay.
So as a result, fun times. The guard actually doesn't know why that was the case, just we had 4 coaches, which was nice to know. So yeah, that was a lovely journey home.
Yeah, no, I mean, trains or tubes, and that kind of high population environment during rush hour is never fun at all.
No.
I remember having to do that over in Seoul in South Korea, and yeah, it was, they've got a similar, I'm pretty sure they've got a similar population to London, if not a little bit more. But yeah, I know exactly.
I was wondering if it's going to happen with people just like hanging off on the side of the train. It didn't get that. The thought was there that might happen.
I'm assuming in Seoul they don't, like in London, use their trains as toilets, because that's what happens in the tube here.
That's true. No,
you're all packed in together and it smells of piss. It's like lovely.
No, it wasn't too bad for that over there. Neither it was.
The only way you get some room is just like either acting like a crazy person or be a Muslim with a rucksack. That's the only way you're going to get any space on a train nowadays.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, hey, let's talk about this week in gaming. In fact, all we're going to talk about on this week's episode is DLC. Well, 3 DLCs and 1 expansion pack. Because as we've learned in the console world, there is a difference. There is a difference. So the first one I'd like to talk about is the Division. So article source from GameSpot, but hey, look, there's news there everywhere. A huge update came out just there on Tuesday for the Division, bringing the game version up to 1.8, which was quite funny because they did a 24-hour live stream, and of course you get the usual trolls coming online. I thought this game was dead. Oh, people still play this? What's going on? Just a typical type of abuse that people get. The Division has a very divisive fan base. Funnily enough, there's a featured article that myself and Marcus are working on entitled that "Why Does the Division Divide Us?" Because it's strange that the fan base is really, really weird. But I digress. The Division 1.8 had launched on Tuesday. I was fortunate enough, I didn't have school or anything on Tuesday, so I managed to sit down and put quite a few hours in, because I don't believe either you guys have had a chance, have you, to check out 1.8?
No, somebody got me back into Elite and I got distracted. Wonder who that could be, eh? He's run away in shame.
He has.
Yeah.
You've outed him.
I need to get around to it.
In a nutshell, 1.8 added quite a few things. It added a new location kind of in the northwest side of the map called Westside Pier. So Westside Pier is quite a large area. There's a lot of stuff going on there. They've raised the world tier. You can go now up to world tier 5, which is for gear level 256 and above. Which, speaking of gear level, now gear level is a little bit more dynamic, and depending on the rolls on a weapon or a item of gear, the actual score can vary from 256 being the absolute base. I think most things you'll find are in the 260s, 270s. Really good rolls are breaking into 280, whereas classified sets, I believe, can go as high as 293. And it's quite interesting because they've added a new mechanic into the game. Do you guys remember how you could recalibrate weapons and gear?
Yes.
Right? A really, really cool feature, right? That way, if you got something and it was almost perfect, but there's just that one roll you needed to change, you could change it for a fee. Well, in addition to recalibration, they've added another station, which is the optimization station. And so this uses shade tech and also credits, and I believe it's like 50 shade tech per time you want to optimize. And by optimizing, what it does, every single roll that's on that weapon or on that piece of armor, it raises just slightly. Not enough, to really make a huge difference, but, just a little bit. So it's one of these things where if you get a really, if you get your gear optimized, rolled the way you want it, then you can just start kind of grinding away on the shade tech to keep improving these armors and weapons, to really get the most stats that you can. So it's quite an interesting mechanic, pretty cool. They also added a whole bunch of new exotic weapons. I haven't had a single one drop for me yet. The whole West Side Pier area, it just seems like there's always shit happening, right? Because what happens, right? There's enemies all over the place. And keep in mind now with this expansion, which of course is worth mentioning, this is a free DLC. Doesn't cost you anything to download. Has enemies from all the factions. All the factions have joined forces to go against their one true enemy, and that of course is you, the agent. And so it's really neat. It just feels like things are always happening. And you know how the game has these missions that you could do, right? We had like pick something on the map and choose to do a mission. Well, now it's got like alerts in West Side Pier. So you're just kind of like going around minding your own business, and next thing something pops up saying like, oh, hey, these 3 lieutenants, go kill them. And it gives you the markers on your map. And you go do that. Then after a little while, oh, hey, go do this. It just kind of adds to the whole area. So really, really happy with that. It's also got some more story in the game. Now, this does not mean like a whole bunch of cutscenes, like how Destiny 2's kind of spoiled us in that way, with all those cutscenes we got. But it does have like a cutscene for when you first get to the new camp, the new social area for this new West Side Pier. You get a cinematic there, but all of the story is, unfortunately, if I'm honest, it's through audio cues and then recordings that you pick up. So it's not quite, a huge expansion of story like we were hoping for. There still is. There's a good storyline to it, but it's all locked away through the little collectibles, which, to be fair, the original game did that anyway as well. There's a lot of story in the Division. You just have to go pick it up from different places. So they've added a lot of stuff in. The 2 biggest things they've added in is Resistance, right? And Resistance is a PvE mode in which enemy factions team up, right, to collectively fight against the players in basically what is the Division's version of Horde mode. And this is, you'll probably like this, Jay, quite a bit, because, in the West Side Pier area, there's 3 different Resistance maps that you can go to. One's like a warehouse type area, one's an actual aircraft carrier, and the other one is what is it? It's some kind of factory type thing or whatever. But what happens is, like, when you first start out, you're kind of confined to only a certain area, and as you kill enemies, you can spend some of the shade tech. It's not shade tech, it's something else, some other resource that you get, and you can use that to like pick up consumables, like restock your ammo, pick up med kits. But then there's like locked doors, right, that you can unlock with this resource. So once you get to a certain wave, you'll probably have enough, then you can open these doors, and now this whole new area opens up. This area might have turrets that you can spend tech to, put on. It might have like caches that you can open up that have gear in it. And then, there's even more doors with various paths you can take. So it's really, really cool. And of course, loot is tiered. So, you get to wave 5 and you get a level 1 cache or something. You get to 10, then you get the next tier. Then I think it's the same 15, and then I think maybe it goes up to like 20, and then it's like every 10th one after that or something.
Thinking I might have to play Division again.
It is pretty neat, because you also have like a boss phase, which I believe was always on the 5th or whatever. The waves are endless. I'll have to look online. I don't know what the highest someone has got to yet, but it's pretty badass. I was doing it solo with my shield build. And I did okay. I just stayed in there for a little while. I think I got up to like wave 15 or something. I was like, okay, right, I want to go continue on with the story. But yeah, it's pretty neat. So Resistance definitely looks like that's going to be quite a bit of fun. Again, because there's these different zones that you can do it. Just imagine, you could go however many waves in that one area, right? And then you're like, okay, I'm sick and tired of this. Well, guess what? There's other Resistance areas to go try out. So there's quite a bit of content there. But for you, an avid PvPer, there's also Skirmish now. And Skirmish is just a straight-up 4v4 deathmatch.
That's what I'd like to hear.
I haven't played any of the Skirmish yet. I watched a little bit of it. It did look relatively fast-paced. I think they're still using the rules of remember how PvP had some kind of gear normalization, I believe, where some perks and stuff didn't work on gear sets. I can't remember the full script there, but I'm sure there was something there. But yeah, it's a nice update. It's free. It's definitely worth checking out. If you're not into the Division, then there's probably no point. Speaking of which, the Division has actually had a free trial that's been on. It's running from the they've done all of the expansions. Underground Survival and Last Stand are playable through December 10th. And if you haven't played a Division at all, the full game is going to be available to play for free this weekend, basically running from the 7th through the 10th. So that's one of those things that's quite handy. If you haven't played the Division, if you haven't tried it, you can play it for free this weekend. And then there's a good chance, Gim, don't they usually, once they do free trials, don't they tend to have it at a discounted price afterwards?
Usually.
Pretty sure.
Usually discounted during as well. So.
That's cool.
To be fair,
in fact,
time to pick up anyway.
Because it looks like, at least, on PC, looks like, the Division Standard and Gold editions are discounted right now through Ubisoft's online store, so good chance they will also be that way on the PlayStation Store and the Xbox Store. But yeah, 1.8, free DLC, pretty darn cool, definitely worth checking out. And, you guys should definitely... I know there's a bunch of other stuff to play at the minute, but it's definitely worth revisiting, because the way all these changes are, the little bit more story, and just the new stuff. The Division is just one of those games that's nice whenever you do encounter something new, because you're like, oh shit, what's going to happen? How do I do this? What's up with that? So we'll have to try to get the squad on and check it out sometime in the near future.
The nice thing for a few of us is we haven't played for so long, there's going to be a lot of content for us to do as such. To do.
Yeah, there's so much.
Nice about it as well.
Well, here's a good example. Next week, I can't remember the day because I actually missed this week's State of the Game, but the next global event is happening next week. And of course, global events are the things where there's all these special rewards, special caches. There'll be, I believe, 4 new classified gear sets coming out next week in line with the global event. And of course, if you do certain things in the global event, you get the vanity items, the masks, as potential rewards. I only did the first global event. I missed out on the second, and I believe they did the third already. I can't remember if they did a third or not. But yeah, I've kind of missed out on those as well. So next week I won't be around, but get on, check it out. There's some nice little well, even the commendations, you haven't really gotten to much of that either, because they introduced the commendation system. So you get these new patches for your uniform and stuff. There's a lot of things to do in it, which you might end up checking out sooner than later, because the next DLC we need to discuss, and this is something that we have all played, is of course the release of Destiny 2's first DLC, and that is Curse of Osiris. So this article that I sourced from Kotaku, the headline says that Destiny 2 Curse of Osiris' campaign has some good moments, but is mostly tedious. Thoughts? Is that accurate?
It's very well.
At the minute.
Depends how you want to define tedious as towards it.
Well, hey, you know what? Let's start with the positives, right? Let's start with the positives. I mean, because what I did, I was playing the Division all day on Tuesday until the patch went live for Destiny 2. I was like, okay, cool. I'll get that installed and go check this out. And I thought it was kind of cool. Okay, the whole opening story bit, thought that was pretty neat. And then story-wise, I thought I was interested because it was new. I won't necessarily say the story was solid, but I did enjoy it because it was something new. But trying to think of more positives here. It was nice. It was nice to see Mercury, especially all you guys finished the story, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was nice to see the
Took a couple of hours.
Mercury of the past. I thought those were some of the coolest maps.
That was really done. Well done.
Yeah.
I think as a whole, their assets and their art behind everything was top notch, and as Joe said before, their music as well, their audio was top notch.
Music was awesome. Oh, speaking of graphics, I mean, the one big thing that the Destiny 2 Curse of Osiris DLC did do was introduce the 4K and HDR stuff for people on PlayStation 4 Pro and of course the Xbox One X. So I don't have an HDR display, don't have a 4K display, but to see the super sampling at 1080, I'd notice a difference straight away. I don't know if you felt that, Jay.
I don't know. I don't mean not paying enough attention to it. Potentially, I've definitely noticed something like a decrease in load times and how it feels a lot quicker as a result. If that makes
doesn't notice because there's too much salt in the way.
Yeah, well, exactly in front of my eyes at the moment.
It's all in his eyes.
No, yeah, I've definitely noticed quicker load times and everything, which is nice. There probably is a change, but I
noticed it the most, obviously on the gun, on your actual weapon as you were holding it, and then anytime I was in third person, you could see the difference on the character, just the level of detail just that little bit higher. I wouldn't necessarily say I saw a huge difference in textures in the world per se, but then again, I think it was already a good looking game before. I think it's most likely you're gonna see a huge difference if you have a 4K HDR display, because HDR is what's gonna just make that pop. But no, I thought that was nice. I thought that was a nice little Brucey bonus of the DLC.
I think a few positives from my point of view was the end boss fight. I think that's mixed opinions. I actually thought it was quite cool.
Mechanics of that fight were
awesome. Cool. Actually, almost seeing Osiris in action. The fact that you had a unique model, from what I'm aware of, as the boss fight, which was really cool. And it just felt pretty badass as a fight. The fact that, again, I'm going to use this thing because I like the fact that there was almost phases to the boss fight. which was quite nice. You had your big ad wave clear and then kill the big special guy.
It was like a solo raid boss.
It was.
Instead of just a little bit of story.
It was pretty funky actually. I quite enjoyed it. What else was there? I'm gonna say something here. This will come back into potentially something later on. The idea behind the Infinite Forest was good.
Yeah, the whole procedural generation.
They used what idea there very strongly.
Something that will help with the Division that they put in with the Underground quite a while back.
So that was the idea behind that was pretty cool. What else was there? It's really bad when you're struggling to think of good things.
Clutching at straws now, aren't you?
Yeah, this is the problem.
Well, you think about Gim. What about you? What were some positives that came out when you first kind of played through the Curse of Osiris DLC? Can't be that hard.
Well, I did enjoy the music and the design of all the just the new assets and stuff, but apart from that, it bored me.
Yeah,
it's just
that. I think that's fair. I think that goes with what Jay was saying. How the whole Infinite Forest as a concept was pretty cool. This whole idea of these procedurally generated, almost like dungeons, basically. So it should be really cool. Every fight's going to be different because it's going to be a different area with a different path and random enemies and whatnot. And so basically, most of the DLC was going to the Infinite Forest, doing something, then going to a planet, coming back to the Infinite Forest, then going to another planet, so on and so forth. And for me, the Infinite Forest just felt, even so I know that each time it was slightly different, it just felt very same-ish to me. I know it's not a word, but it just was the sameness to it.
You just find yourself running through it, and occasionally you go, oh, you have to kill these couple of enemies before they go through, so you kill them quickly and then keep running.
Yes. I see, I did that with after you do the story, and then you have to do the adventures, and then you have to do the heroic adventure. It wasn't until the heroic adventure that I was like, oh yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna run past everything until I can't anymore. And like you say, kill those one or two enemies that unlock the door, and then proceeded after that.
But me and Jay were talking earlier about those enemies. They could have done something interesting with them, but they've got exactly the same AI as the standard enemies next to them. So instead of doing something where you go look for them or something, or they actually behave differently, or they just run at you like lunatics, just like every other enemy in the game.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think they missed a trick there.
Blow them away and carry them going.
I mean, they gave him a different name. They gave him this whole demon thing, right? I mean, why couldn't they have done something like that, where they just changed the model slightly, or even gave them more of a... I mean, they do have an aura, if you notice.
They have this weird, that
little reddish, glitchy...
Red yes.
So they did that at least, but...
I would... I'd like to come on to those very quickly now, actually, because my personal opinion of them, as explained with Joe, is they had so much scope in terms of the fact that they could have done, for example, things where you had to do stuff to actually make them spawn. So, for example, potentially clear all the enemies in the area. That'd be pretty cool. Force you to do it instead of having to kill those three. Because, as you said, I basically just hunted them down, killed them, then ran through. I didn't care about any other enemy. They could have done things where those little boxes you had spawned, but you don't get to see where they are by a big white light. You have to go and find them, destroy so many, and then a little pop-up spawn saying the daemons have spawned. You could have had them hidden, where you've got to really go and properly explore what you've unlocked so far, the Infinite Forest.
Yeah.
There was so much scope with those, and the fact that not only did they have Joe said, the same AI as the normal mobs, that they were there in front of the door. I can understand them having to be there to defend it as such, but that's not the case, though, is it? Because as long as they're alive, the door can't open. Is what my theory is behind all that. So
the way they protect the door is by not just standing there waiting for them themselves to be just blown apart. No.
And that's the problem. They could have made the Infinite Forest areas a bit bigger, so there's more procedural generation going in with each door section. Because the fact that they've done it with those doors is what makes it interesting. I know a lot of people have compared it to almost like Diablo-esque, going through the rift doors and stuff like that. And again, same principle they could have had here. I personally feel that this whole entire expansion, me personally feeling, could have the idea behind this, they should have held off with and had this as the Taken King style one, because the whole entire what story they have there is that obviously you're stopping this big Vex from essentially causing this dark future, and that's a good premises to have a much longer campaign in the first place anyway.
Yeah, a really good premise for a badass raid.
Yeah. On top of that as well, like I said, that would have given them so much more time with this procedural generated content, which to me is a very bold move from their part, and they didn't follow through and execute it properly. And again, if they would have waited until next year for a Taken King style expansion, they could have potentially done that with that, and that would have received and again done not the ideas we're throwing around here, but things they could have thought about. And to me, that's the big gripe of it all, is they again have done so much more.
It's like you're saying. I mean, it's a cool little distraction, a little bit of story, but it feels to me almost a bit disjointed, because here we go, we had this whole thing with Callus and all that stuff's happening in Leviathan, and now we've got Curse of Osiris, which is doing this whole Osiris thing in the Vex, yet now there's a raid lair opened in the Leviathan. What do these two things have to do with each other? You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't... They're two completely independent things, which I know that doesn't actually launch till Friday. So maybe, who knows, maybe there is a tie-in, but I doubt it. I doubt there's going to be Vex things in the raid lair. Yeah, I think I agree with you that it just seems like this whole Curse of Osiris thing would be a good precursor to a hell of a lot of, like, Vexy content. You know, like a big raid or something. It's just weird. I mean...
Just very quickly thrown in as well, and this comes back as well, Osiris has been painted up to be this big, badass, most powerful guardian in the Destiny-verse. Again, you sort of see what he can just do by the fact he's duplicated himself loads of times. The fact that he's studied the Vex just shows you how much knowledge he has and what he can do with them. And we basically barely get any screen time with him either.
Yeah.
I hope they come back to him, and they flesh him out a lot more, and they flesh out the story of him a lot more. Because as I said, the Vex, they're going to keep being a threat. That's not undeniable on that one. But yeah, it's just...
What about the other nice little feature? Oh, well, I'm sorry, it's not a nice feature. But when Curse of Osiris dropped, it locked players out of high-level activities if they didn't buy the DLC, because now the Raid and the Nightfall required what is it? The prestige versions of the Raid and Nightfall used to be a requirement of 300, but now they're 330. So if you don't have the DLC, you can't do prestige. Which I mean, they did similar, not the exact same, but we know in the original Destiny, if you didn't have the DLCs, there was some content you couldn't see. We knew that, but it's just, I just find it so amazing that they're locking people out, and the game has only been out 3 months. It just
What makes me laugh, and this is what comes back to what you were saying earlier about the fact that, you know, it was clearly Destiny 2 started production when Destiny is part of the live team and why was there not communication. And this comes back to this point as well, is as people have stayed online, and as I agree with, Age of Triumph, you had Crota's End revamped, you had Fog revamped, and you had King's Fall revamped. All those raids were still available to players without the DLC because they had a separate instanced version of it that was at the light level that was required.
Mm-hmm.
Why in hell have they not managed to do this with the raid and with this? It is ridiculous that they haven't done that. And quite frankly, it's a slap in the face as well, because as people are saying, Destiny 2 is still being sold for full price, and yet you're now not getting all the content. That's ridiculous. And quite frankly, it's a low blow.
It's greed, pure and simple.
It really is.
They're holding it back because they want you to buy it. It's like, well, you can't play this until you buy the DLC, so go buy DLC now.
Yeah, it's a bit. And the thing is, you're buying it on a promise because, I mean, let's be honest. Yeah. What came out Tuesday was, okay, a nice little tidbit. Then there's the patch next week that gives us some more stuff, some quality of life things that we want. But the actual things that, if I recall correctly, most of the community want and are excited about, Bungie said, oh yeah, those won't be till... We'll communicate some stuff about PvP. That in January.
PvP stuff is what they're just holding off. Stuff that should have been in from the base game because it was in Destiny 1 sort of nonsense. A lot of that. Private matches and...
Nah, it's a bit of a shame.
They hold off the DLC release for 1 week just to get that patch that's coming up.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
That's not insignificant what they're bringing in that patch as well.
No.
Is that the one with the token economy reworking it?
Yeah, and the Masterworks
and yeah.
And that's some like massive stuff.
It's talking just weird. I think it's money. Like you say, this whole when you look at other things that were coming out this week, they couldn't afford to, and even then, I mean, I thought it was very telling when over on Twitch, some of the big Destiny streamers who played Curse of Osiris on Tuesday, played the hell out of it. Come Wednesday, they were either back on Fortnite Battle Royale or playing The Division. And, you know, people that have basically... I mean, there's 2 guys over on Twitch that have built their houses thanks to Destiny. Right? I mean, you know, these guys, they're not sponsored or anything like that, but, you know, they honestly love the game. You know, they really enjoy it. They put in a lot of time. And to be fair, us a lot, we put a lot of time into the first Destiny. But they're feeling the same way we feel about Destiny 2. It was enjoyable and fun and neat, but there's no drive to really sink more time into it. It just doesn't have that... You know, the original Destiny was far from perfect, but let's be honest, there was still stuff to do. If you wanted to go in, you know, you could go, oh hey, I'll try to get a few rank ups with this, or I'll try to do that, or oh, I want to go collect this. Whereas in Destiny 2, I just don't feel that way. I just don't.
It's not so much stuff to do as incentive to do said stuff, because there's still stuff to do in Destiny 2. You've got Leviathan, you've got loads of other stuff to do. You got the PvP, but you just don't want to do it because you don't feel there's any value to it.
Yeah. This is the
You devalued their content. It feels worthless. You're not getting anything from it.
Another big problem as well is if you look at the gear, and I'll come on to them first in a minute with that side of things, but to me, it doesn't feel like much gear has been added. My legendary engrams, whether or not there's a pull for it, is dropping old gear, not new stuff. My legendary engrams is just there for infusion fodder now. I don't care about them.
You're right, Jay. There's only a handful. I did that yesterday. I went up to Brother Vance and inspected the potential rewards for his engrams. Yeah. And okay, a full new armor set, so that was cool. And I think it was like 3 or 4 Season 2 weapons. And that was it.
Going back to Destiny 1, every single expansion release, I am pretty sure all the armor got revamped. I'm pretty sure everything you started getting was new stuff.
Yeah.
I don't remember you ever getting all gear drops.
No, because then it made those old items like cool little collectibles.
From the fashion style of the game, because let's all be honest, there is a fashion aspect to Destiny, there always has been.
Mm-hmm.
I can't get cool. My cool new armor is behind some token system, which is fine, which is getting revamped, okay, and then behind Eververse. On top of things as well, I'm not being funny, the ornaments for most of the gear I've seen so far are fecking recolors. Okay, the helmet for Iron Banner for Titan changes slightly, the Titan Mark changes quite a bit, but the boots I noticed straight away is literally just a recolor. That's all it is.
I looked at the Iron Banner ornaments on most of the Warlock gear. I think never got the chest piece, but I looked at the rest of it. It just flat out makes it look worse.
Yeah.
You get your Warlock Iron Banner gloves have got the nice sort of like tree design on them, on the vambrace. Put the arm on it, just wrapped in bandages now. Can't see any of that.
The Crucible stuff is essentially just a recolor. I'm going to come back to Destiny 1 here. Where is all the cool shite, like the Crota Zen stuff, the Vogue stuff, those cool ornaments, the Wrath of the Machine, the King's Fall ornaments? Where's all these cool little particle effects that they are not now held back by from legacy consoles? Where is all this cool shit?
They're coming.
I'm not having a go at the artists for this or anything, because as we've said earlier, they did a fantastic job. And if anybody can hold their head high, it's them, in terms of what they've done with Destiny and new systems as well. And to be fair, the gunplay still feels fantastic, apart from obviously the Prometheus lens, which is currently broken, and how the hell that got through QA, I do not know. And then you come to Eververse, where quite frankly, most of the new gear and content is locked behind this microtransaction thing. Yeah, you can grind your bright engrams, fine, but the point is, they are still stuck behind it.
Which, on the plus side, hey, we've got new emotes. Like, I was taking the piss out on Twitter last night, having this Destiny conversation, and so I'll pull up the image here where I tweeted at one of them, hey, but at least we can take selfies now, am I right? They've got the selfie emote, and it just says everything. It says it all. That's where we're at. Who cares? Who cares about meaningful story and great content? Oh, look, we've got a selfie emote. That's cool. Yay.
It's just crazy. You look at the fact that, again, from what I'm aware of, I don't know about the faction rallies recently or the Iron Banner recently, but I don't know if there was ships you could get from drop pools. There might have been, but most of the cool ships and all the cool looking ghosts, like on Eververse. Where's the days of here? Go do a raid to get a ship. Go do a bunch of crucible activities, and you got like 5 or 6 ships. Yeah, okay, there were colours and reskins, but it was still something you could get. I mean, it's like with the ships from Reverse. Yeah, they look cool, but to be honest with you, likelihood of me using them be quite low. The Kabir's one, however you want to pronounce it again, looks pretty cool. But if you were to again compare that to Destiny 1, if I had the choice between using a cool looking ship or the Nano Phoenix, I would use the Nano Phoenix because of how bloody hard it is to get.
Yeah.
And there's just nothing. There's nothing to strive for in Destiny. You can strive for your bright engrams. That's essentially what they are aiming for. That is their endgame content. Is for you to farm bright engrams and then get fed up with it and start buying them.
Yeah. Oh well, we'll just have to. I'm not going to hold my breath, but I mean, it looks as if they're taking a bit more notice that hey, people are upset because I mean, look, they are starting to actually respond. Before they just didn't, right? They just kind of ignored.
They did respond a few times, to be fair to them, but
you know what I mean, like
yeah.
Like, they actually cancelled a reveal stream in order to address community concerns. That was unprecedented. You know, whereas before, yes, they might just kind of give a little reply or something here and there, but to actually go, okay, whoa, hold on, this is what's up. It reminds me of The Division, whenever Massive had stopped development because people were concerned, you know, and they actually said, okay, stop, let's wait a minute and discuss this. You know, let's actually, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to open up. We invite people to come in and be these elite testers so we can actually talk to them face to face and figure out issues. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the hell Bungie has in store for us. But it needs to be more, whatever it is.
Yep.
Speaking of more, I just want to talk very briefly on these two bits because I'm actually going to be doing reviews on both of these over the weekend. So I am. The first thing I want to talk about is something that came out this week. And that, of course, is not a DLC, but an expansion. And that was for Steep. This week, the expansion Road to the Olympics came out, which I believe over here it's $24.99, which might, you know, for an expansion, that's, I think, a good price. You know what I mean? Like, when you compare an expansion to a piece of DLC, because usually when you think expansion, it's a bit more meaty. It's not standalone. You do still need to have the base game. But in a nutshell, Road to the Olympics has done quite a few things. It's upgraded Steep, so it's now an Xbox One X enhanced title. I'm pretty sure it's also... I think Steep was already enhanced for the PS4 Pro. I think they'd already done that. If not, it is now. But it looks absolutely glorious. On One X, it runs at 60 frames per second, and what a game changer. It's absolutely fantastic. There's a whole new continent in the game. You've got Asia, so you can ski and do all your stuff, rocket wings and base jumping in Japan. But then there's also Korea, because the Winter Olympics in 2018 are going to be held in Pyeongchang. So that's pretty cool. You've got all these new areas, all this stuff. You've got all these Olympic events. But the coolest thing that I wasn't expecting, because if I'm honest, I played a little bit of the open beta, but I deliberately didn't read much about what was going to be coming, because I didn't want to spoil it for myself. They've introduced like a story mode into the game, where you're becoming a legend. And, okay, you choose what country you represent, and you choose what you want your person to look like. And so this character for that is basically separate from your main character. And it's telling your story, how you want to be in the Olympics. You want to, because they're introducing all this snowboarding stuff at the Olympics in 2018 that weren't in before. And so it's just really, really cool. I don't want to spoil too much of it, but I mean, you basically do like little qualifications and little tournaments and stuff in Japan, doing all these different things. In between, they actually have real snowboard and ski superstars, people like Kevin Roland, I believe is how you pronounce his last name, and these other like snowboarding stars. And it's not computer graphics, it's actual video of them talking about stuff, and it just made it a very cool, real experience. And so you go through all of this, and then finally, if you actually qualify and everything, then you get to participate. And your dream is to get the like a Grand Slam, get 3 gold medals in these 3 different snowboarding events. And so I played through that this afternoon, and it was an absolute blast. It was really, really cool. And besides that, there's all these other Olympic events to do: slalom, Super G, snow cross. And besides all of the Olympic stuff, there's also all the normal steep stuff to do. I've got, 3 or 4 new mountains in Japan to go explore and do stuff, and new challenges. Because in the original steep, I have golds and everything, right? Now there's a new chase for me. There's medals that have to be won, so I'm going to be playing the hell out of some steep. So definitely worth a check out. I said I will be doing a review of this game. I don't know when it will be published, but it'll be published at some point. But Steep was my favorite game of 2016, and by the way this is played so far, I think this is going to be a contender for my game of 2017. But we'll see. Did either of you guys? You had both messed around with the beta way back when, right? For the original Steam.
Yes.
No, I actually didn't get round to it.
Oh, did you not? It's just such a different style of game. Because like the old snowboarding games like SSX and whatnot, those were quite arcadey, whereas Steep is a bit more realistic, like as in when it comes to physics and snow physics, and
closer to simulation and arcadey. Yeah.
Exactly, and it's just, I like that little bit of realism, because I grew up skiing. I learned how to ski when I was a child. When I lived in Colorado, I used to go to Breckenridge, Keystone, Telluride, Vail, Arapahoe Basin. I was never into snowboarding, but I was always a pretty good skier. I used to do the whole, black, diamond, and double black trails, and every so often would go off-piste, which now that I'm a little bit older, I realise how stupid that is, because if I'd hit a tree, I would have died. But hey, when you're young, you're stupid, right? But no, I really, really enjoy it. It's so different. The music, it has licensed, top tunes in there, so it's just this lovely kind of chill out experience, if you want it to be a chill out experience. So Jay, if you want to just hop on skis or a snowboard and go just like cruise around and just check stuff out, you can do that. Or if you want to go on this super competitive leaderboard chase where you're because you've got first of the day, first of the week, and first of all time. So each event, whether it's skydiving, whether it's rocket wings, whether it's sledding, snowboarding, skiing, paragliding, you know, yes, you got your bronze, silver, gold, but there's actual leaderboards, and these leaderboards update daily. You know, will update daily, so you can be, if you get first of all time, you know, you're an absolute badass. If you get first of the week, that's pretty impressive, and first of the day, you know, is relatively easily done. So there's that whole chase as well, and it's just one of these few games that when you're doing like the wearing a wingsuit, it's super fast, and it's so twitchy, you know, so it's like turned into almost like a flight simulator. And it's one of those games that, like, my family always knows if I'm playing Steep because they can hear me making noises like wincing, you know, like going, ooh, oh, you know, like on all those kind of close calls. Like they say it all the time, like, oh, are you playing Steep again? Like, how do you mean? You're so vocal because it's just so. Again, I'm biased. I really enjoy it. But if you can get a deal on it, if you can get it for free, or, you know, maybe not free. I don't know if maybe it'll be on Game Pass eventually. Is there many Ubisoft games on Game Pass, Gim?
Not off the top of my head, I can't think of any.
Because it's definitely worth it. I mean,
games are gold eventually.
That's true. See, if Steep goes games to gold, then that would be pretty sweet, because paying 25 quid for this expansion pack has been money well worth it, in my opinion. And I've done that main legend thing for the Olympic bit, but there's still so much content for me to do. I mean, I've probably got, I'm trying to think, there's probably going to be another good 30 hours of content for me, I think, just to do things. Because you've got exploration, you've got to unlock drop zones, unlock points of interest, unlock the events, then actually try to get all golds in the events. You know, there's cosmetic items that aren't locked behind a paywall, Jay. I mean, you can.
Yeah.
Like, if you suck at the game, you can buy credits with real money to then buy that stuff. But if you're actually good, you get those credits anyway just by getting firsts, you know, getting gold medals and whatnot. So it's definitely pretty sweet, especially now considering it's 60 FPS. What I'll try to do is I'll try to actually record a little bit of it or something and slap it in Discord, and then you can. I mean, I know it'll be with the whole YouTube transcode, it won't come through picture perfect, but or maybe even if I just do some clips on Xbox or something, that might actually be better. That way, that'll probably be a better quality than doing it via YouTube. But no, definitely pretty cool. But yes, I shall be reviewing that shortly. And another bit of DLC that came out this week, which again is one that I'm excited for. This is a personal thing. I have not got around to playing it yet, but this is for one of my guilty pleasures, and that's Euro Truck Simulator 2. This week, the Italia DLC that people have been waiting on finally came out on December 5th, and it looks gorgeous. To put it in a perspective, Euro Truck Simulator 2 it's a very different game. It's a very niche game. It's not a race car game or anything like that. I mean, you're literally delivering stuff all over Europe. There is a grind where you're trying to, you know, make little kind of garages and build them up with kind of a fleet of your own trucks and your workers, and you can upgrade your trucks, and there's a level system. There's a lot of grindy stuff to do. So there's a lot of content. This Italia DLC, which I believe is about 13 quid, 13 pounds over here in the UK. For 13 quid, you're getting 11,500 kilometers of new in-game road. You're getting 19 new cities, including Rome, Palermo, Napoli. So all of those kind of famous landmarks and whatnot. And of course, anytime they introduce a new region, they have region-specific industries. So things like, for instance, the Carrara marble quarries and the largest steelworks in all of Europe are actually located in Taranto, Italy. So a hell of a lot of content for all the truckers out there. And it's a beautiful game as well. The graphics on it are just, they're top notch. But that's another one of my guilty pleasures. A game I like to just sit, chill, unwind with, listen to the radio. One of the actual local radio stations via the in-game, radio inside the truck. But no, it's pretty neat. So I'm spoilt for choice this week. Too much DLC. So much stuff. But yeah, pretty cool. Good week for DLC, guys. Well,
you say good
mixed.
Mixed.
Good week for DLC other than Destiny. That's what you want to say.
This is by no means, I'm not trying to call you out, Jay, but I think it is quite amazing when you think in the past you have always been, it's been nice to talk about Destiny with you because you always try to have been pretty positive. You've been realistic.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say you've been optimistic. You've been, you've been realistic, but on the very positive side of things.
Yeah. And
it's just been so interesting to get your take on Curse of Osiris and listen how, you've changed. You know what I mean? You've changed your tune a little bit now. It's starting to, these things that, the pattern, the history repeating itself, it's...
Once he was blind, now he sees.
It's not that. It's just, it just shows you that someone who's had a lot of hope in the game, because we've all had hope, but it's been always nice. You've always had this very positive kind of view on things, and Curse of Osiris has finally just kind of broken you down a little bit.
It's starting to that point. I said I will play the next DLC because I've paid for it, but the Taken, because I'm assuming it'll be a Taken King, seeing as they seem to be following the same roadmap. Taken King next expansion, they are really gonna have to sell that, and by really sell it, I mean they are gonna have to do some of it. And I'm half tempted to even just wait a week or two to get it. And I don't care if I fall behind. I don't care if I miss stuff. I might just wait.
Well, come on,
that point.
Come on, let's be honest. Progressions went out the window with us.
Yeah.
Because the Prestige raid were like,
whatever.
There wasn't really any awesome rewards to push us to do that.
No, that's the thing, wasn't it? It's like, oh yeah, great, I can get the same loot. Cool.
So no, I think you're right. I mean, I can honestly say if I hadn't have bought that deluxe limited digital edition or whatever, I probably would have held off as well on the Curse of Osiris DLC.
I'm pretty much the same, to be fair. If I didn't have the pass already brought, I don't think I would have got it.
I bought the pass earlier today after waiting, and about an hour in, I was thinking, can I refund this and just buy Warframe Platinum?
Warframe Platinum, yeah.
That was a legitimate thought that went through my head.
To be perfectly honest with you,
I want to give the second.
You probably could. There's a lot of stuff going on with Sony and Xbox at the moment, with a lot of people wanting refunds.
Could happen. Well, hey, I'll tell you what, we are going to continue this conversation, but Jungle Drums is over for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're watching this at scholarlygamers.com, thank you so much. Make sure to share the article with as many folk as you can. Whilst you're there at scholarlygamers.com, make sure to check out all our other great content. We've got articles, features, reviews. Like I said, I'm going to be working on 2 reviews myself here, the Italia DLC and the Road to the Olympics expansion. Also check out the other great video content. Just this week, the latest episode of Armchair Gaming from my good friend and buddy, the Unbearable Gamer, dropped this week, so make sure to check that out. And hey, whilst you're watching the video, why not just go to the Scholarly Gamers YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, and then that way you'll get notified anytime some new video content does get posted to the channel. We will not be live next week because unfortunately I'll be away on holiday, which I'm going to talk to you guys about. I think I'm going to try recording, you know what I mean, like in advance, so that way I can still have one pushed out, but we'll talk about that. But yeah, that is us for this week. Thank you so much for watching, and we shall catch you next time on Jungle Drums.